Welcome to our webinar on the topic Website Protection Redefined, Detect, Protect, and Deflect. My name is Tom Montgomery and I will be your presenter today. I am one of the SOC engineers and product managers here at MonitorApp. Now, before we go into this webinar, I just want to let you know that the recordings of these webinars will be uploaded to our MonitorApp YouTube channel. For general questions, please email us at marketing@monitorapp.com. And for technical questions, please email me at support@ioncloud.com. All right, so before I get into the body of our presentation, let's have a quick overview of exactly who MonitorApp is and give you a little oversight about our company. So MonitorApp has been around for about 20 years. We're listed on COSDAQ and we have offices in Japan and the US, and we're primarily based out of Korea. We are a B2B cybersecurity company that has both on-premises and in the cloud solutions that include website protection, secure internet access, and secure remote access, all designed around the zero trust network principles. In addition to this, we have AI Labs, which is a threat intelligence platform that provides continual real-time threat intelligence on attackers and attack techniques to all of our services. We have thousands of clients, including network service providers, financial institutions, and government departments in both domestic and international markets. And some of our clients are quite large. Now, moving on to what we're going to be talking about today, I will start by explaining why we need Ion Cloud in terms of the internet today and the threats that we all face, followed by an overview of what our products are and how they work before moving into a much deeper view of our WAP and secure CDN services. After which I will answer any of your questions you might have on the presentation today. So let's jump on in it. Well, the first quarter of 2015 is over, and the trend of businesses migrating to cloud and hybrid environments hasn't slowed down. While many of us are no longer working from home, companies like Google are encouraging their employees to return to the office, and the widespread adoption of cloud services is here to stay. Cloud environments are simply so flexible and cost efficient that moving back to an in-house server infrastructure just isn't practical for most small and medium businesses. So while you need to be in the office to work, none of your work has to be in there with you. But this shift comes with risks. More companies are storing proprietary data in cloud data centers and accessing these through exposing endpoints over the internet. And that's where security challenges arise. Most companies have always had some kind of website hosted on a web server, and regardless, any time we have anything exposed to the internet, there will always be security risks. But we can protect ourselves from these vulnerabilities by constantly staying on top of our security protocols. The issue is, not every company always sees this as a priority. With on average 60% of websites exposing vulnerabilities to the internet, it's no surprise to find that many of these sites are compromised by attack. Now, if this has always been a concern, why does it feel like it's a bigger deal now? The truth is, it was always a big deal. But in the last 5 years, the way we use the internet has changed. There's been an explosive growth of the use of APIs over the last 5 years. Mobile apps and microservices have transformed how businesses operate and deliver products to the public. However, as technology and development practices evolve, new vulnerabilities emerge, forcing the cybersecurity industry to constantly adapt. Many security professionals are familiar with the OWASP Top 10 list, a list of the most critical security risks for web applications. However, the list you see here is slightly different. Due to the rising security risks around APIs, OWASP introduced a completely separate list specifically targeted to API security and their most vulnerable locations. This issue of API security is only going to continue to grow exponentially. Now, on top of all of this, bot traffic recently has surged, with almost 50% of the internet now being simply bot traffic. While some bots serve a legitimate purpose, even these so-called good bots, they're not as beneficial as they may seem. I mean, do you really want generative AI scraping every word off your website and repurposing your content without your consent? And then on top of this good traffic, we have the malicious bots, targeting your website and endpoints through credential stuffing attacks and automated vulnerability scanning. If left unchecked, these threats can quickly lead to large-scale breaches and data theft. Bot attacks are escalating rapidly, not just in frequency, but also in intensity and sophistication. So what are these malicious bots up to? Well, here are a few key categories that highlight the damages that they cause. By blocking bots from your website, your company can prevent unauthorized data scraping, which could otherwise be used against them. For example, you can stop bots from instantly buying high-demand products upon release and then scraping them and selling them at ridiculously outrageous prices afterwards. However, it's the last category here that has been rising at an alarming rate. Credential stuffing has become a popular and highly effective tactic for malicious actors looking to gain unauthorized access to resources. As shown here, many people reuse passwords across multiple platforms, including work and personal accounts. When compromised, these accounts have far-reaching consequences. Now, although the credential stuffing attack success rate is only 1%, you have to realize that these attacks are automated by bots and executed millions of times across the internet. And that leads to a widespread compromise of organizations. To put this into perspective, RockU is a notorious collection of leaked user accounts and passwords, showing just how exposed that data can be. Now in RockU 2021 leak, it contained 8.4 billion unique username and password combinations. And 3 years later in RockU 2024, that number had risen by 1.5 billion new combinations. Now, I guarantee someone in your company is on that list. Let's say it's Karen in accounting. She hasn't changed her password since she first made her first Yahoo account 25 years ago. And that's the same password she uses in the payroll system. And didn't your company just move payroll onto the cloud? These are the kind of vulnerabilities that are being exposed by credential stuffing attacks. Now, another type of attack that is very common is the DDoS attack. The number of attacks has risen by 50% every year for the past 2 years. And in the OSI model, DDoS attacks can target two primary layers: the network layer, specifically layer 3 and 4, or the application layer on layer 7. The issue is web application firewalls traditionally only protect layer 7 against application DDoS attacks. However, IonCloud works as a proxy for web traffic. It can also then protect against the network layer attacks on layer 3 and 4. So with protection against all DDoS attacks, IonCloud offers a much more efficient solution that reduces IT complexity, and we achieve that with just a single product. Now, with the hybrid approach to work and resources, it makes sense for a company's security stack to also be located on the cloud. And this allows administrators to access all their resources from a single convenient console. and which is precisely what we've done at Ion Cloud. Through providing a comprehensive security solution, we've added all of these features to a single console. So let's go a little deeper into Ion Cloud and what services we actually offer. So Monitor App has been at the forefront of web application firewall and secure web gateway technologies for over 20 years now. And it is one of the most trusted names for enterprise and government cybersecurity in Asia. We have consistently offered a high variety of capable WAF and SWG appliances that work in cooperation with our world-class threat intelligence platform, AI Lab. And this lets us protect against known vulnerabilities as well as zero-day exploits. However, as stated, enterprise networks are traditionally off-premises and utilizing cloud technologies more than ever. And this trend is only set to continue. So here at Monitor App, we took those decades of WAF and SWG expertise with physical appliances and made a security solution available as a cloud-based security service on our new platform, Ion Cloud. To meet the evolving demands of modern production environments, Ion Cloud have developed a next-generation WAP. According to Gartner, a legacy web application firewall is no longer sufficient for modern web security needs. To address this, they introduced a new appliance, a more complete solution called a WAP, which stands for Web Application and API Protection. This goes beyond the additional API security. It also includes bot mitigation, DDoS protection features, as well as web security. Now, Monitor App has packaged our WAP with optional features such as a CDN network or a content delivery network and website security posture checks or a WISP, offering a comprehensive website protection suite. With Ion Cloud, companies can confidently expose their services to the internet. By creating a global network of edge locations, Ion Cloud provides low latency, high availability, and worldwide reach required for modern enterprises. By connecting users and resources to the closest and most responsive edge locations, the Ion Cloud platform provides comprehensive website protection and acceleration. Ion Cloud edge locations are now built into over 40 different internet data centers, spanning 15 countries, and we're only continuing to grow. Now, Ion Cloud offers a variety of different services within the cloud security field. However, today we're going to be focusing on our website protection. If you're interested in the other categories, we have numerous past lectures available on our YouTube channel. Also, be sure to check out our 2025 webinar schedule for upcoming content. Now, I also want to mention again that the entire platform is integrated with Monitor App's threat intelligence platform, AI Labs. This platform updates all services in almost real time with new patterns and vulnerabilities. It also analyzes network traffic for zero-day exploits and anomalies, utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning. This platform is so robust that even Google's Virus Total uses it for its scans. But back to our topic of website protection, there's a lot to cover, so let's break down how we'll approach this service. First, we're going to talk a little bit about our WAP, why we need it, and then go into detail on how it's used and how to set it up. I'm also going to discuss our secure CDN, and then we'll go over questions at the end. So we're almost done. Now, to understand why the WAP is so effective and widely adopted, we need to take a second to consider the specific problem it solves, which is staying safe in a world of encrypted traffic. By some estimates, over 90% of today's web traffic is encrypted by either SSL or TLS protocols. But encryption and decryption takes place at the client and the server, so the traditional security equipment in between, like a IDS or a firewall or a DLP, they can't inspect secure traffic that is encrypted. So therefore, when an attacker encrypts their data at their end, those malicious packets are sent through a company's defenses where they are then just decrypted by the server. Therefore, there's a high risk of compromised systems. Also, if a client system is already infected, things like data exfiltration can easily occur, for data will be encrypted and sent out of the company without being detected by something like a DLP. IonCloud fixes this problem by sharing certificates and private keys that usually live on the web server for handshakes and encryption. By sharing these certificates, the private keys with the WAP, it can then decrypt traffic for inspection before re-encrypting it and sending it on to its destination. This way, information will still be protected when traversing the web through because it is still HTTPS encrypted, but internal resources can remain safe because the traffic has been decrypted and analyzed before entering and leaving private networks. Now, our system is a little bit more robust than a standard IPS or a next generation firewall because we're able to do layer 7 role protection. We're able to decrypt the traffic and look at information such as the URLs, parameters, cookies, as well as any web vulnerability signatures. And this allows us to analyze and remove traffic that may have harmful results, unlike an IPS or a next generation firewall. With that being said, let's look at the different categories here, starting with web security. So in order to protect your web server, you first need to add the domain to our IonCloud WAP. Now you've got to provide certificates, private keys, and specifically the origin IPs of the servers. So this here is actually a screenshot from our web application and API protection service. And as you can see, once you provide all of this information, it will send your information through to our servers rather than direct to your web server. Now, one thing that we do offer is you can get your SSL certificates actually through IonCloud as well, or you can provide your own. Now, after you register all your information, IonCloud will provide you with a CNAME address, and then you need to configure the DNS server of your domain to point to the CNAME that is supplied. Now, when people type in your domain, their traffic is going first be routed to your DNS server, is going to send on the information that is the CNAME. That CNAME will take you to the edge of our network. Now, after inspecting the traffic, we can then send that traffic on to the origin server. A great benefit is that malicious traffic is detected and blocked at our edge and therefore never reaches your servers to begin with. With the traffic proxied through IonCloud and the ability to decrypt it for inspection, we can start setting policies. So here's a screenshot of some of the web security rules from the console. Now, MonitorApp has been perfecting its web security for over 20 years and offers incredible protection, including always staying up to date with the OWASP Top 10. However, this doesn't mean setting up your policies has to be complicated. So with IonCloud, you have total web application protection with just these 17 rules. IonCloud has been designed to minimize false positives, so you can start the service with all the policies in block mode. With other providers, WAPs are set to only detect mode for 2 to 3 weeks, and then after the collection of data has been analyzed by looking through hundreds of thousands of events, then the rules can be tuned. But this leaves your network exposed for weeks at a time while these systems are updating. So with IonCloud, there's no need for this process. We already have all of that data, and that means that it's safe to start with the policies in block mode right away. This is a huge point for us of differentiation between our services and a lot of the competitors on the market. Now, it might look really simple. However, more granular controls are sometimes desired. So the options for advanced configurations for each of these rules is set to be released later this year. Now, in the previous screen, there were 17 rules for full protection of your website, where signature-based pattern rules. But if you have non-signature based requirements, for example, blocking specific web traffic based on the header, the country, the cookie, then it's possible to set up user-defined rules and manual access control rules as well. For example, you may have a requirement to protect the admin, like /admin/folder, and you only want access from a specific office IP address or a country. As seen in the screenshot here, then you can set up a bypass that allows access to only that path for that specific country. Now, when a pattern or condition is matched, IonCloud provides two options. First, we have a block page. So the end user who is trying to access the page that does not have permission, they will receive this block page. The other option is a challenge page. This provides either a captcha or an email two-factor authentication process. We provide these in order to block certain types of bot traffic. Rather than just to block everyone, we can choose to block only bots. Now, the next topic I want to talk about is API security. So according to Cloudflare, 50% of all traffic is now APIs. While this number increases, so does the number of malicious attacks that are related to API traffic. So we can see that lots of security incidents are API related. And this is because, as we said earlier, legacy web application firewalls, they can't handle malicious API traffic very well. Moreover, API traffic generally handles important information such as authentication or authorization. To meet evolving requirements, we provide advanced API security functions like validation and authentication headers, schema validations, and rate limiting as well. Also, we provide other useful functions such as automatic API discovery, JSON Web Token integrity checks, access controls, and block pages for API calls. What's great is you don't need an additional API security solution for the API protection. It comes as part of our Monitor app WAP. So let's look at a few of these features. The first is IonCloud's API discovery. Now, there's a growing issue known as API sprawl, where companies have so many APIs that they lose track of them or fail to keep them properly updated. It's kind of like a Mac user's desktop. Maybe someone knows where everything is, but let's be honest, it's highly unlikely. So ask yourself, do you know exactly how many APIs your company has right now? What about those shadow IT APIs? Those intentionally hidden from you by that one guy who's secretly mining Bitcoin on your servers. With dedicated API discovery and management, it's now easier than ever to locate, document, maintain, and protect all of your APIs, even the ones you didn't know about, before they become a security risk. A second aspect of the API protection is that you can register your APIs within the WAP. This way you can control them better by setting the path, schema validation, and specifically an authentication header name. You can also specify if you are using JSON web tokens. If API calls don't match the criteria you define, you can block them altogether, or you can just detect them for analysis later. Another way in which IonCloud's WAP is able to protect against API threats is by focusing on tokens. IonCloud's token validation can stop hackers from unauthorized access through header value authentication, JWT integrity verification, and authentication server verification. You can see an example here showing JWT integrity verification. While JWTs are widely used for authentication because they are lightweight and easy to use, if hackers are able to steal the token, then they will have the ability to access a variety of resources in ways such as payload manipulation. Here you can see that where a secret key that would normally be only on the web server is being shared with the WAP. This way, IonCloud can determine if the header or payload has been manipulated before sending the request to the API server by verifying that hash value. This means that your traffic, that the API server never has to see this traffic. If it doesn't match the key, then the API server never receives the traffic. You can also validate the actual payload in the JWTs for additional security. For example, shown here, I'm qualifying some conditions of what I want in the header section of the GET and POST requests. And if these are not met, then the API method will immediately be blocked. Now, there's also the ability to set rate limits on requests. So rate limits are when a singular IP address attempts to connect to your API a certain number of times per second. So here you can see I've set that after a period of 10 seconds, if they have attempted to connect 100 times, then they will be blocked for 60 minutes. And then the action here is rather than detect it, it will block and send a block message to the API, the person calling the API. This way, there's plenty of granular options here in order for you to choose how you want people to be blocked and what to show when they are. Now, if you would like to set access controls for the API, this option is available as well. While access based on geo IP is an option, there's also the ability to make role-based access control. By specifying custom claims in the payload, you can also limit who can use the API. The next major feature of the WAP is bot management. When we talk about web attacks, around 90% of those attacks are actually done via automated programs, which are bots, and not a normal browser. That means we can differentiate between a bot and a human browser. Then we can be safe from many web attacks. According to the graph on the left, only 51% of the web access is actually a normal browser. 17% is from good bots, such as search engines or monitoring tools, but 32% of the requests on the internet are from bad bots. And in general, bad bots have a lot of negative impact because they generate high traffic and cause high system load through the high number of attacks, like brute force logins, DDoS, web scraping, and web vulnerability scanning attacks. Now, in order to protect from bad bots, IonCloud provides a bot management function. First is IP reputation. Through AI Labs, IonCloud keeps up-to-date databases with information about Tor IPs, known attack IPs, proxies, VPNs, so you can choose whether to allow or deny traffic from these places outright, or you can verify with capture challenges to allow access from a flagged IP. VPN IPs are a good example for this. For some legitimate users, often use Tor for anonymity and are not actually malicious bots. The next option is rate limiting. As you can see in the image, you can apply the rate limit per URL based on a single IP or a device using a fingerprint. In the first example, we set the policy to verify the client with a CAPTCHA for 5 minutes when they access a resource more than 2 times in 20 seconds. Now, in the second case here, login protect, we will block the client for 1 minute when they try and log in 2 times within 5 seconds at the login URL. At the bottom of the screen here, you can see a sample of the CAPTCHA challenge and the block page provided by default when IPs are over the threshold. Just like in the web application, you can customize these however you like. Now, following this is brute force browsing, which is similar to rate limit function, but slightly different. In the previous case, rate limit was based on the number of URL requests a client made, but here, force browsing, it's based on the number of response codes from the origin web server a client has. Thus, it's useful for cases where rate limiting can't detect. For example, when an attacker does vulnerability scanning with a scanning tool, it generates a lot of 404 or not found errors. We can detect these generated responses and we can block the client if it generates 404 errors over a defined threshold. Also, we provide an advanced bot management function by injecting a small amount of JavaScript in the response body. Once the JavaScript has been injected, then the client will interpret the JavaScript and respond accordingly. With this information, IonCloud can check and verify whether the client can understand JavaScript or not, and whether the client is a bot or a browser. The information the JavaScript injects might send back to IonCloud is human-computer interaction, like mouse movement or keyboard strokes. Now, bot management in itself is good protection, but we can also consider going a step further by activating the credential stuffing function provided by IonCloud specifically. Since we have several million leaked credentials from databases internally at IonCloud, just like attackers, once activated, this function monitors the typed credentials and checks whether that credential is matched with a leaked credential or not. If it is matched, then we can choose to alert or just simply block the login attempt. Let's look at an example here. So here we have a company protecting their login page. The page is on the right here, and the credential stuffing policy is set up on the left. The first thing to do is to protect the login process on the website is to define the target URL and the field name. In this case, we're doing do login and UID. Then choose which credentials will be checked, ID or password. In this case, it is the ID field, so IonCloud can reference its millions of stolen IDs when there is a login. And then finally, decide the action on whether to detect or block. Now, one thing is we cannot check both the ID and the password at the same time. It's one or the other. The last thing to mention is DDoS. So by covering the previous sections, we have actually already mentioned the layer 7 and application DDoS attack protection. In the website security, it is part of the scanner, proxy, or a spam bot detection rules. For API and bot protection, it's part of the threshold and force browsing. However, it's important to distinguish that layer 3 and 4 DDoS attacks are done at the edge level. This is not configured in the console. It's inherently a feature of the platform. By using scrubbing centers, IonCloud is able to block these attacks while still letting legitimate traffic pass. Now, I just wanted to show you something about the console here. I feel like the IonCloud interface, it's actually very useful. And one of the things to keep track of is the analytics. So you can glance here at the WAP analytics page and you can conveniently see information regarding the traffic locations, the most common attacks, that your site is receiving. You can also see which countries those attacks are coming from. And this UI is actually interactable. So if I was to click on one of those countries, I can immediately choose to block IP addresses from that geolocation. We also can go into a more in-depth analysis, and we can look at the specific logs. And in each log, we can see the time the event occurred, the client IP, the URL path, the type of attack. And by clicking on the magnifying glass, we can also see an in-depth analysis, even down to exactly what was in the packet. Now, there's also the ability to generate reports manually and automated, and that way you can integrate with a SIEM so that you can send ESM messages, making it much easier to integrate with other services. Now, finally, we're going to move on to the content delivery network. So now we've seen the pictures before, but I just want to illustrate how incorporating the CDN into your IonCloud plan continues to increase service. By being able to cache your content at the edge location in the IonCloud infrastructure, you can enhance the user experience with quicker load times and reduce traffic costs. The CDN also provides an additional layer of DDoS prevention on layer 3 and 4 traffic, because the CDN can reduce the effect of a DDoS attack because clients trying to access your services are routed to the edge locations rather than to your web server. Now, once activated, you'll have the ability to take the advantage of these benefits with reduced load time, bandwidth savings, security improvements, and DDoS mitigation. The service allows you to see and monitor where your information is being tracked, where it's being cached, and how much you're actually getting out of this service. Now, under the CDN settings, you can also determine how long the content is stored with a maximum time of up to 1 year. There is also the option for manually purging files before the time limit of caching expires. There are other features as well, such as CORS header support to control if other domains can load your page content. Now, the WAP and CDN can be packaged together or they can be used separately, but setting them up for your web service is really so easy. We have already reviewed how to do this in a lot of detail, but it can take as little as 10 minutes to set up this service, which is really quick compared to a lot of our competitors. We've gone through a lot of content today, so to summarize some key points before we end. First, IonCloud is always up to date with the newest CVEs, patterns, and signatures. With our cybersecurity threat intelligence division, AI Labs, it is integrated with an advanced threat intelligence platform that integrates unstructured data from various sources, stores it in big data, and performs multi-dimensional analysis using an AI-based engine. Next, since IonCloud is a complete secure solution, it contains API protection, bot management, DDoS mitigation, and web security. There's no need to have additional security solutions. Right? You only need one service to protect your entire web system. And moreover, IonCloud is significantly cheaper than a lot of the other service providers, and there are no hidden costs. There's no add this feature. It's simply one subscription, one and done. That's probably the most efficient part of this service, and one of the best parts of the IonCloud service compared to competitors is just the sheer simplicity of it. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening and thank you for joining the webinar.